Welcome to Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games. I'm your host, Meme Sanchez. Here we don't just talk sports. We tell the stories behind the hustle, the heart, and the hometown heroes. From Pee-wee dreams to Friday night lights, from dusty back roads to championship runs, this is where the past meets the present and the game becomes a legacy. This is Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games. Welcome back to Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games, where the past meets the present and the game becomes a legacy. I'm your host, Meme Sanchez, and today's episode is about building a better tomorrow for Cotulla. We're talking about the proposed $10 million bond that would bring a brand new gym and locker room facility to Cotulla High School, one that reflects the pride, passion, and the potential of our student athletes. Joining us are some of the most respected voices in our community, from school leadership to coaches and alumni, all here to speak on this new facility that would impact Cotulla for generations to come. This episode is proudly sponsored by JAC Supply, your trusted provider for oil field and industrial equipment in South Texas. Let's begin with the man helping guide Cotulla ISD into the future, Superintendent Dr. Ramiro Nava, who's here to explain what this bond is all about and why right now is the time. Sir, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Appreciate you being a part of this episode.
Yes, sir.
Let me start with the questions real quick.
Okay.
Can you break down what the $10 million will cover in terms of design, space, and function?
Definitely. So the $10 million that the board asked, right, for community support will cover not just playing surface, which is the actual gym itself. We're also looking for a lobby area that will connect the current gym with the new gym, if approved. We're also looking at locker room space so that we can provide more space for our athletes, for male and female athletes, both.
Yes, sir. And so with that lobby area, whenever it's not just going to be a walkthrough, it's kind of going to be somewhere where they can kind of eat, enjoy the game.
Correct.
Kind of keep the inside a little cleaner.
Right. So the foyer, I mean, I said lobby, but it's really more like a foyer, right? So it's a space where definitely visitors can come in and be able to partake in not just a concession area, but there will be enough space to be able to put some tables where individuals can definitely enjoy items, snacks, things like that they bring in. Definitely could be a staging area, right? If there's another team ready or preparing to get into the gym. So it allows more space for functionality, not just a walk-through space. So the design lends itself for that.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Nice. That's going to be awesome. Just something new for Cotulla. You know, before I think we had the wall.
Correct. And
I walk around.
I'd be remiss too if I didn't add the fact that we got feedback from our coaches, our current coaches, and so the design does lend itself to have some open viewing space. So what we're looking at is to not have a wall. It's actually have glass where folks can definitely see into the gym while games are taking place. So, it's the functionality is folks can be enjoying a snack or waiting for for them to get picked up or something like that, while still enjoying and having a clear view into the gymnasium.
Yes, sir. Not miss any action at all.
Correct.
So how would the facility serve more than just athletics? Would it support events, academics, youth groups, community gatherings?
Yeah, so definitely. So one is I just want to make sure that I clear the air, right? So being out and talking to individuals, I want to make sure that your viewers and all viewers out there understand that this gymnasium is to serve both our female athletes and our male athletes, right? Our cowboys and our cowgirls.
Absolutely.
Right? I know, right, and I would think that everybody knows that Coach Ramirez is also head female, right, basketball coach, but because they've seen probably males more, right? That doesn't mean that that's specifically just for males. So I wanted to make sure to kind of clear the air there, right, with that. But the gym primarily is to serve the needs of our high school athletic facilities as well as our junior high facilities, primarily, right? But that's not to say that that space can't also be used for the community use. And what I mean by that is if there's any job fairs that are out there, any health fairs, it provides another space to be able to bring individuals inside. We definitely want to continue the partnership with the Cotulla Sports Association, which is kind of our unofficial theater pattern, right? So we definitely want to continue to do that work. But that space, again, primarily will be used for our athletics at our high school, middle school, elementary schools. But it's also, in my view, it's also a space for the community. So definitely there'll be opportunities moving forward.
Yes, sir. So I think this is probably, a big topic. Many residents qualifying for exemptions or minimal increases. How can we help clarify the financial facts of a bond?
So the first part is to make sure that every individual that's a homeowner, right, is going to the local CAD, right, our tax office, and make sure that they've applied for their homestead exemption, right? So the state of Texas has given every homeowner in the state a $100,000 home exemption. So we want to make sure if we take anything away from this is that that's out there and people should be taking full advantage of that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't have to be an actual home owner, like I own the home outright. If I'm paying a mortgage on that home and that's my primary residence, I can claim homestead on that home. So that automatically gives the taxpayer a $100,000 tax exemption. So the bond and the tax revenue for that bond it's about 98 cents for every $100,000 value, right? And so if you're already getting the exemption, then you're not paying any tax, right? If your home is averaged or if it's valued at $100,000.
Yes, sir.
So you're not paying anything. Right? It starts to accumulate after the $100,000, right? So if it's 150, then it's half of that 98. If it's the 100,000, which the true value would be a $200,000 home,
yes, sir.
Right? Then it would be the 190, so on and so forth. But that's what we want to definitely make sure that the taxpayers understand, and that's per month. So it calculates to about $12 a month if you're paying $100,000 on taxes, right? Yes, for $100,000 value on your home. And so the other piece is that we're looking to finance this bond for about 10 years, right? Because we want to be able to fund it and then pay it off, right? And not let that debt kind of accumulate over time.
Yes, sir.
And so for someone that's paying $100,000 value, they're paying about $120 in 10 years,
Okay.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
So
to us, I mean, $100 at this point in time is probably like $1 at this point.
yes, and you can provide like a comparison, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I mean, I know that I have 2 kids and I probably buy Happy Meals probably 2 times, 3 times a week, right?
Oh, yeah.
And those things aren't 99 cents anymore.
Not anymore.
Right? So a bag of chips and soda at the local corner store is already running you, right? 20-ounce soda is running you like $2.50 already.
Yeah.
So, but
Bag of hot Cheetos, $5.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yes.
So, in your eyes, what's the long-term return on investment if this bond is passed?
So the long-term investment is not just monetary. Number one, the long-term investment is conversations that I've had with folks that have been born and raised in Cotulla. They've shared stories with me, Mr. Sanchez, about how when they were in high school in the all the way to the 70s, right? The 70s, the 80s, 90s, where they would go to neighboring school districts and they kind of walked into those facilities at that time and felt like, man, why can't we be here? Why can't we do this? Why can't we deserve? And so we're at a point right now where it's our turn.
Yes, sir.
Right. And we're definitely at a point where our board feels that this is definitely something that's long overdue. Definitely something that they got behind us in January to definitely support. So the investment there is really one, a motivation and to really put Cotulla on the map, right? Monetarily, financially, it definitely helps us with investing because we definitely can become a neutral site, right? We're right between Laredo and San Antonio.
Yes, sir.
Right? And so we're right off of 35, so we're accessible. So it definitely provides itself. This gymnasium would definitely provide for the opportunity for us to be a neutral site for playoff games. We can host different events, different activities. So there's also that investment piece that comes on the back end, right? And so that also helps us generate not just funds for us, but for the local community, right? Because if we attract these tournaments and we attract these games, those fans travel, right?
Yes, sir.
And being part of a 3A system, 3A schools, 3A school districts, they travel, right? I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah,
When
absolutely.
Cotulla travels, they travel. Everybody goes. But these individuals are eating at local restaurants. They're if they're spending the night, they're staying at the local hotels. So the investment is there too, right?
Yes, sir. So not just for the school, but for the community itself.
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right. So what role does student morale and school pride play in the project like this?
So I touched that just a while ago, right? And a couple of weeks ago, we took some time to display the renderings of the gymnasium over at Newman Middle School with 8th graders, 7th graders, 6th graders. They were in awe, right, about the opportunity that they can definitely have to be in that space, right? So I can tell you that those students moving up are really excited at the opportunity to be able to take advantage of that space. I can also tell you, right, that the current gymnasium, I've also heard the stories about the nostalgia that gym has, right?
Yeah.
Big games have been won in there. Lots of things have taken place, and it definitely has a historical value to this community. So our goal is to not knock that building down either, right? So in logistically, both of the spaces will definitely help our athletic program. It definitely helps the school district to host multiple events. So definitely, I think morale, it really allows us to hold on to historical value that we've had, right? To not forget our past.
Yes, sir.
But it definitely provides us an opportunity to build our future.
Yes, sir. So if this bond passes, what's the first step in bringing the new gym to life?
So the first step would be to definitely celebrate the fact, right, that the community has supported this. And I can tell you that the full intent of this board when the school was designed was to build this gym. So we already have renderings, we already have blueprints, we already have about 90% of the plans already drawn up, ready to move, because our full intent was to move forward with this piece of the project if funding allowed itself. So the next steps would be is that once things pass, we would take plans back to our architects to finish them out to 100%, make sure that we get final input from our coaches, from our executive committee, to make sure that all the pieces, are finalized, and then we send that package to bid so we can get a final price on that piece. So that'll probably take place over the summer. And then I would say probably by September, October, we see what the market value would be on bond rates. And if it's prime for us to be able to move, we sell the bonds, we secure the funds, then we start moving to actually start ordering material, logistics, metal, steel, all the pieces. So in terms of the actual building of the gym, it'll probably be what we call on the third phase. Because currently the first phase is the academic 2-story building.
Yes, sir.
The secondary phase is the administrative offices, kind of where the library is currently at,
Yes, sir.
and the e-building. Then the third phase was going to wrap around to do the foyer and the gymnasium. So we're expecting that turnaround time, and we can move and get the plans finalized probably in about a year and a half. So it would still it'll be the last part, which we always intended that it would be the last part of the full project. And so we're confident that if this bond gets supported, we can still put that third phase within the time frame that we have.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your
Yes,
day,
sir.
sir, and joining us on this podcast. It means
No
a lot to
problem.
us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
This segment is brought to you by ADF Designs, bringing your vision to life through custom branding and creative solutions. Now we're joined by two former athletes who've seen Cotulla sports from every angle. Former Cowboys. We have now athletic director, Coach Esteban Rodriguez, and assistant athletic director and girls head basketball coach, Randy Ramirez. How are you doing, fellas?
Doing great. Doing well, man. Thank you for having us on.
I really appreciate y'all taking time out of your days to be here. Let's start with these interview questions. Some of them might be a little tough, and hopefully we don't scare y'all too much.
Always up for a challenge.
All right, I'll start with you, Coach Rodriguez. In what ways would this new facility benefit multiple sports and student athletes?
I just think that it would benefit all athletes, boys and girls. It just adequate, for more, more gym space. I know, on our volleyball and some of those basketball teams, we were very limited as to, space and practices and things of that nature. So I definitely think it'll provide adequate space for, all kids, all students to practice and not kind of interfere amongst, one another. But again, like I said, it'll help us in many ways.
Yes, sir. Coach, you played basketball in that gym. We've heard the stories. We saw the records. What memories do you have, that you can relive from back in the 90s?
Well, I think it's important to put out there that it's a gym it's filled with memories. It's filled with some losses, lots of wins, some heartbreaking games, but there was also some game-winning shots at the end and things like that. But I think the most important part that I take out of a gym and out of a even just a career or being around Cotulla for a long time is the memories and the relationships that were built in that gym. I think that it's important that when we build this new gym that we have an opportunity to create a new story. And I think this gym allows us to continue forward and to have a platform with the new facility as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Coach Rodriguez, do you believe a new gym could bring regional playoff games or more exposure to Cotulla?
Most certainly. I think, as Dr. Nava mentioned earlier, especially, due to our location being basically the center point between San Antonio and the Laredo, with a facility of this caliber, I really think that we would attract more teams, to host. I know the capacity on this new gym would be much larger than what we currently have. Especially, hopefully everything works out to where we with locker rooms and all that, where we can accommodate everything. But I definitely think that it would be a major attraction, right off 35, center point between, midpoint between San Antonio and Laredo. In addition to hosting tournaments or hosting, playoff games and things like that, I think that it would allow us, to host tournaments and powerlifting meets and things of that nature that it'd be convenient, with gyms being right next to each other, and it would allow us to promote our facilities, So, that would definitely be a game changer for us.
When's the last time that we can remember Cotulla hosting a playoff game? It's happened before.
Yes, right? I think about 3 years ago, we hosted Somerset Boys, and I believe it was Alice.
We hosted Rock Springs as well.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yes, sir. And what I was getting at with the whole Somerset and Alice, I believe it was Alice, it was very packed, because they're 4A schools and the spacing. And we did host Rock Springs twice this past year. I believe they played San Isidro and something like that. But those are 1A schools. So, but I mean, definitely, we got a lot of compliments. We accommodated everybody very well. Locker rooms, everything was convenient. Training room, things of that nature. So definitely, we make the best out of what we had. Yes, sir.
And some of those schools like the old school gymnasiums, and then some of them are looking for an upgraded new facility. But I think, like a coach said, we got good feedback from the gym and things like that.
Yeah. And this newer facility would definitely be, it's a big difference than what we got right now. Like we talked about the wall, having that new lounge would definitely, I think it would. I think it'd be something that towns would just want to come see. Not everybody can experience it if we do go through with this. How has the gym shaped your coaching journey and identity, Coach Ramirez?
I think it's really shaped my identity because it's given me an opportunity to mentor kids, mentor and be there and create relationships with my coworkers. It's also an opportunity. I guess my idea was to get through my career and hopefully one day be able to coach alongside an individual that I coached, and we're seeing that more and more. And I think that's the identity that I want to create is one of discipline, one of holding good relationships, and people coming back and giving back to their community. And a new gymnasium allows us to create and bring back new drills, new opportunities. and then just the opportunity for the kids to know what it's like to be in a facility, in a higher end facility, and be proud of one. And I can just imagine, what their pride and their efforts are going to be just in something so special.
Yeah, especially you think about like that first class that's going to get to enjoy.
Of course.
It does. I can say it probably will bring a little more, not effort, right? Because everybody, you do get your athletes that give you 110%, but I just can see creating a different emotion inside them. That first time they get to step on that court.
Well, and I think it's important too. It creates, like I said earlier, it's a new story. We don't have to rely on what happened in this old gym anymore. Let's create something new. Let's create something positive on a new facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Coach? How would you say it shaped your? Because you actually coached basketball, right? Your early years of coaching.
Yes, sir. When I first started my career, I started at the middle school level, and then I came up and was a high school basketball assistant for 7 years, and it definitely, it was a great experience. We had a lot of highs, and some lows, just like anything else. But as Coach Ramirez mentioned, a lot of games were won, a lot of successful seasons, a lot of heartbreaking moments, a lot of things that mold these young athletes. But again, this is a gym that we've all been through, we've all played in, and it's a great, it's got a lot of memories, and I'm just glad that I was able to play in it, able to coach in it, and kind of build from it.
Yes, sir.
And I think the opportunity to be able to keep both is great. Because I go back to the days when we started playing, it used to be a rubber floor. And now we see the updates and we see the updates, but I just think that our kids deserve, the best.
Yeah, and we talked about their town hall about that sea on fire, that logo. That logo was nostalgic, and maybe we could bring that one back to the old gym. This is for both of y'all. How do you balance tradition with the need for modern upgrades in a community like ours?
It's just kind of like Coach Ramirez mentioned, man. Just the fact that we're keeping the current gym. A lot of, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of memories, a lot of things, a lot of hard work has been put in that gym, a lot of great accomplishments. But the fact that we're upgrading, modernizing, and having the best of both worlds, to me, I think that's it's a win-win. I think that just kind of giving the kids what they deserve is the biggest thing. Giving the kids what they deserve, and especially with the new high school and new facilities all around, I think this is definitely going to be the face of the gym. The face of the Cotulla High School property in there, and it's a facility that is used for numerous times throughout the year by community members. It's used for college fairs, awards, banquets. Graduation. Whether they come in, so I think it'll definitely serve its purpose.
Yes, sir. What about you, Coach Ramirez?
I think Coach Rodriguez hit the nail on the head. It's the face of the campus. The community actually gets to come into the gym. Sometimes the community doesn't go into the new school. So it's the face of the school, and I think that it being a new facility is just going to create such pride for these kids.
Yes, sir. What do you see when you walk into the gym today as a coach, and what do you wish could be better?
I go back to the memories, the goods and bads, the sweat, but also the discipline, that was instilled there. I go back to, some of the, the wins, the losses, even just the little things, the conversations we had, the speech that I had in this game, or how I had to bring them back to believe, and some of the, plays that were drawn, whether they were on the floor, whether they were on the dry erase board, or, I go back to, it's just something that you can't forget. Those memories and those things that happen in that gym are very important for Cotulla ISD, and everything that is Cotulla ISD. And I just think, like I said, that it's something that the fact that we can keep both gyms is such a positive thing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I think that's probably the best part right there, that we still get to keep that old gym, but we have that hopefully we get that modernized gym that's very deserving. What would this gym symbolize to current students?
I would definitely say the biggest thing is just a sense of value, to show the kids, that we value them and that we really take pride in them, and to basically, most importantly, just give them what they deserve. Give them what they deserve. Like I mentioned, why not us?
Yeah.
Why not us? Why not Cotulla? We're long overdue. And like I said, I think our kids deserve the best. They work their tails off, day in and day out. And as I mentioned, if we could, we'd give them the world.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's an investment in kids,
Yeah.
and not just in a physical way. But if they're exercising, they're doing what they're supposed to, it's going to help them out in every way.
Yes, sir. And it's also, I think the other topic to kind of highlight is we're not just getting a new gym, we'd get new locker room facilities, that lounge area, concession stand, for booster clubs, for class sponsors and all that stuff, band. It gives those people opportunities as well. What would it mean to coach in a new facility where the next generation could build their own legacy?
I think I hit on that a little earlier. It's just an opportunity to create a new story. We have our memories there. We have the things that we remember that we still talk about today. I think it's an opportunity for these kids to create their own memories, not having to rely on the stuff that maybe their parents did or another class did. They can build and create their own traditions and do their own thing in a new facility.
Do you see any new traditions coming our way? If we do say we get it'd be more capacity, bigger seating arrangements. I even think there's like a VIP, not a VIP section, but
I think on some of those first renderings, they had like the stadium seating. And we've had some discussions. We haven't really, hopefully everything goes through, but we haven't really finalized anything. So.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when I was in school, we would get loud for basketball, volleyball. Even around that time, I want to say we started hosting powerlifting, and those stands are always packed, and it was cool just seeing schools coming down and being a part of it. So I think a tradition that I'd like to see would be tournament-wise.
Yes, that's a big one.
Tournament-wise, like just bringing towns in, hosting those tournaments, and it's something that each town looks forward to. Maybe it'd be one of the biggest tournaments that we get to do in the area. So
I think another one too would be, just giving our kids exposure. Just creating new championships, putting banners up. Those type of things is a tradition I think that's much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Wall of Fame.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I look forward to growing up as a kid, seeing all the all district honors and stuff. And hopefully, I do know that they were putting a trophy case in those renderings of the new gym. So hopefully, it's kind of add place where we have, and then hopefully add more trophies.
Absolutely. How does a new gym change the experience for coaches and not just athletes?
I would definitely say, a sense of pride, taking pride in, the fact that they're able to, to coach and to, take part in these facilities. But definitely,
Yeah, I see a new facility, new generation, new way of coaching, bringing in new drills, having more space. More. We talked about this in the last time we had our little talk. Just the ability, more repetition.
Yes, sir.
Getting kids in and out, practicing in a full court. Getting on all the landmarks, talking about free throw line extended, talking about the block, things like that, where you can see it in every part of the gym. And I think it'll help our little ones. Being able to practice now at least in a half court or in a full court. Versus in a little corner over there.
Yeah, and in a new time too. Possibly, an earlier time because we made what we got, but we made do with what we had. So we did a good job, and we always appreciate the school letting us use those. Speaking about making do, what has the current gym taught you about making do, and what kind of statement does a new gym make to our neighboring towns and school districts?
I'll take that first one. I think it's just the ability to adapt. Improvise and overcome, because with a gym like that, you never know. It's the one facility that gets used the most. Sometimes you're in, sometimes you're out. Sometimes hey, it might be this might not be working here and things like that. So the ability to improvise and be able to adapt, That's what it's taught me, And then the fact that you have so many kids in one centered court, you have to be able to, be very organized, and then be able to involve all kids at all times. Yeah.
I do think it would be, it'll be convenient. I know with the current gym, as Coach mentioned, having to accommodate, with the boys and the girls and everybody practicing there. When I first started my career, we wouldn't get out of there till about 7:30, in the evening on a daily because, girls were practicing earlier, boys, and we'd rotate. And then that was putting our students from Ensenada getting home at 8:15. So, now we've gone the first period athletics, which is, it's tough getting up in the mornings, but I mean, yes, they're getting in at 6 a.m. practices, but then they're getting on that bus at 3:45, 4 o'clock, heading home. But that was the biggest thing, is just, accommodating and making sure that everybody had an opportunity to get their practice and not cut each other short. Yeah.
So, second part of the question, what statement does a new gym make to our neighboring towns and school districts?
Well, we've visited all the gyms around the area. They all probably have a fairly new gym.
Yeah.
I think that, they're going to know that we're going to have a state-of-the-art gym, and it's going to be one of the best in the area because our kids deserve it,
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I think that, Cotulla's second to none, man. To me, in anything we do, I always try to give our kids the best. As I mentioned, they deserve it. And, everybody, from what I hear from neighboring schools as far as baseball and softball and football facilities and everything, like, man, Cotulla. And to me, we take pride in that. Yeah. And as I mentioned, Cotulla's second to none.
Yeah, it's a prideful thing to hear. I mean, even at the Pee Wee level, right? As soon as playoffs comes around, hey, Cotulla, you want? And we're lucky to have,
really, that's what we're hoping, That's what we're hoping with these new facilities, is being able to host those big games.
Yeah, because we see it a lot. Like, even when we go to our meetings and things, like you said, when that situation or playoffs comes to, or a district tournament, you see them all wanting, hey, well, I'll host a district tournament, but when we have the facilities, that's going to give us an opportunity to host a district tournament, give our kids an opportunity to play at home.
Yeah.
Where their fans and their student body and their families can come now and watch them play.
Yeah, for 3 days, 2 days, however long they go. So it's definitely the benefit. Final question. What's your message to Cotulla voters who might think, we've made it work this long, why change now?
I just think it's like I said, it's in your generation. And I think it's time for our kids to be able to create their own memories and their own relationships, whether it's through pep rallies, whether it's through college fairs, whether it's through games, practices, just the ability to not have to rely on what's there as much, but to be able to create their new story.
Yes, sir, most certainly. I just think it's time. We're long overdue for a new gym. And as I mentioned, with the new high school, new facilities, auditorium and everything, it just goes hand in hand. And it'll be the icing on the cake. And as I mentioned, the face of the Cotulla High School campus. So we're definitely, hoping everything works out.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate y'all taking some time out of your day, being a part of this podcast. I know it's very informative for our town, and as far as my end goes, it's informative for myself being a resident of Cotulla, hearing from the people that live in those gyms.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for having us.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you to Chaparral Feed and Supply, supporting Cotulla's agricultural and rural communities since day one. And now we close with two strong voices who've come full circle, from athletes in Cotulla's program to now coaching the next generation. Joining me are Erica Tellez and Letty Carrizalez. Ladies, I really appreciate you joining us on this podcast. It's definitely a special moment for us, especially for myself. I do think that we deserve a new gym, so thank you for being a part of this. All right, so let's start with the questions. What message do you hear from your players about the current facility?
I think the thing I hear the most is room. The locker facility for the girls is very limited. There's not a lot of space for them to get dressed in the morning. There's a lot of girls.
Yeah.
There's 3 designated areas, but there's not a lot of place for them to shower, to do their game, and get ready. But also there's just some things about the gym in itself. we have some leakage, ceiling leakage.
We have some bleachers that are a little bit disoriented, broken. We also have the girls who they tend to, again, like there's no room for all the girls to get dressed and ready for school, that they tend to go to the restrooms and still they're all clogged up and there's just no room for them to get prepared and feel comfortable throughout the day.
And that's something that they're bringing up to y'all, of course, right? Yeah. Just trying to, and that's important to talk about because, the new images or blueprints that we saw did have, more modernized facility for the girls, which was something that me having a daughter, I really enjoy that. Because I don't know what it's like, on that side. It's different, or at least for the guys. I don't know if I doubt it that it's any different, but for boys, we don't necessarily need, or we don't prepare ourselves the same way that girls do. They like their hair, makeup. It's for us. It's just get dressed. If we smell, we smell. We're going out. We got to go to class. We're going, sweaty or not. How would a new gym impact your ability to coach and prepare your team?
I feel the coaching wise, it really won't affect it just because as a coach, from my opinion, we use with what we have. Like whatever we're provided, we have to use that material. We have to use that space. As for the athletes, it's going to feel like something new, something they're going to be excited for, something that they can create their own memories in that gym as well. I had my own memories in the gym now, so it's going to be something good for them to do with this new gym as well.
I think for me, it's the preparation part that is the biggest aspect there, because having a facility that would enable our athletes to actually prepare, having two sides where, let's say, the court, a preparation for volleyball, that allows them those reps. That allows them the ability, the structure, so that they can get in some practice to build the program itself.
Yes.
So I think that having designated areas for them would be the best way to make them accommodate them, not only, but also the coaching aspect. We're able to utilize everything. Yeah. So
more space, more reps.
It builds a stronger program.
Absolutely. What values did you learn as an athlete in Cotulla that you try to pass on now?
I think work ethic, resilience, perseverance. There's many things that I learned being Cotulla Cowgirl, and those are things that we pass on to our athletes. We continue to get them to strive a little harder, work a little harder, reach for the stars, do what you can, but always be humble, be kind, think of others. Just keep pressing on, keep pressing on.
Being very coachable, being very leaving everything out on the court, giving everything that you have, just letting it out on the court, leaving it there, and making sure that you're doing what you need to do in order to build the team and build the program.
Yes. And so what coach would you say made that impact on you?
I would say, for me, Coach Fran Adamy and Coach Randy Ramirez. Those were my coaches. Coach Fran Adamy during my volleyball season, and then Coach Randy Ramirez during my basketball season. I had them all 4 years, from when I was a freshman all the way to I was a senior. And they made me the coach that I am today, and also the type of person that I am today at the same time.
For me, it was Coach Garcia. I was mostly under Coach Garcia, Susan Garcia. And I think the thing that most affected me was the fact that she was fair. She helped instill character in me and never gave up on me. She always pushed me to be the best athlete that I could be, and make sure that I was a reflected that onto the people around me. So it made me a better person, it made me a better athlete. That's
awesome here. So shout out to those coaches. How does a quality facility affect confidence in sports?
Well, it's a reflection of them as well. It makes them step into new things and creates opportunities that they didn't have before. The facility that we have now is nostalgic. You know, even I walk through the doors. I remember walking through the doors, you know, and then coming out with the music blaring and getting ready for, you know, for volleyball and stuff like that. But I think that it's just a reflection of opportunity. Bringing the past into the modern world will just make the program better.
It'll also get them very excited, like knowing that there's these two gyms and coming out here and knowing that we have the space and again utilizing it. They're gonna be like, I can go from this gym to that gym and work on this, and it's just, I guess the room is what's mainly exciting. Like, it's not we have to separate these kids and those kids, or we have to separate from this part of the gym to that part of the gym or the area, but they'll have all that room and be able to achieve and to grow together. Like,
because if we're having new facilities, then we're having new things that can help strengthen, train, push, more reps in, more, you know, more and more. And that's what we want. We want to build a program, or to continue building a program that will be strong, not only now, but into the future.
Yes. And I think, you know, a highlight is repetition, you know, because I have heard that it's hard, the amount of girls that you get for volleyball, because we have freshmen, JV, and a varsity team all carry, you know, big amount of athletes and players. And, you know, being, I guess, at the younger high school is definitely a big step in your life. And, you know, when you come out to sports, it's, you know, in middle school, you see 8th graders when you're in 7th grade, and it's just 1 year. Now, when you're in high school, you're a freshman, you got seniors, junior, you got upperclassmen that are looking at you too. And say you don't get enough reps in, you know, I think it does kind of plaster your confidence. It might bring you, oh man, I don't, you know, do I really want to go out there? And more space, more reps definitely could boost, you know, an athlete's confidence. So, you know, what would it mean to see your team warming up in a brand new gym?
Well, they mean everything, because the Koreans also, like, they would know that it was a community. The community helped them to get there. So they believe in that, kind of their little push to, you know what, we do have the community support. Not that we don't. They should know that, because, you know, pride in this town is something huge, and it correlates with sports. Because when something happens in, you know, with the sports around here, you know what, the community comes out, and that's when, you know, we're bonded together. We're all in.
Absolutely.
yep, it's gonna feel like new, something new. And when something's new, it's exciting. It's something you remember. That you remember the first time that you got your new car, or you remember the first time that you got a new job. It's new, so you're gonna remember, and it's always gonna be like a memory in the back of your brain. So then here as a coach, it's going to make us feel like, as in me, it's going to make me feel like these girls are going to give me their all. These girls are going to show me, and the girls are going to come out and play and perform because they're excited to be here. They want to be here, and they want to show the community what they can do. They want to, and regardless of their performance, regardless of their outcome, this community is always going to be there for them. The bleachers are always going to be full. There's going to be banners and flyers and posters all around all these businesses, like it has been for years. But this is something exciting that I think that all of the athletes, from the ones that are barely getting to be introduced to the sports to the ones that have been playing it for years, are all going to be excited for this new gym.
Definitely changing the mindset. That's for sure.
Absolutely. You know, and I think y'all touched base on my next question was, how do you connect the dots between sports, community pride, and athletic facilities? And I think we nailed that one pretty good. So when you hear a new gym, you know, what's the first thing that comes to mind for your players?
Opportunity. Definitely opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to be strengthened within the organization and building a program. It's continuous building of a program from the bottom up.
I hear excitement, and I hear joy. I hear that they'll have joy, because when you're happy in a place that you want to be at, you're going to give it your all. If you love your job, you're going to give it your 110%. If whatever it is, if you are happy in a place, then you are gonna end up giving your 110%. Yeah, your whole effort, everything that you have.
So what kind of facility do Cotulla kids deserve in your eyes?
Everything.
Exactly.
Everything. They deserve
They
it.
deserve it. They deserve it. They're not only the now, but they're the future. You know, that's what we're looking for, to building strong people that will continue to come back to this community.
Yeah, of course they give back one way or another eventually, I believe. So why is this project more emotional or meaningful to you than people may realize?
Because we are alumni, because we know exactly what it feels like to walk through the halls of the Cotulla High School or walk through the doors of that gym. We've played on that gym floor. We've, felt the roar of the crowd and the ups and the downs of a game. It means more to me than people would think. But to be able to give back to the community as a coach and see a brand new facility, it's just screwed. Yeah.
And then again, being on that court, it's a different feeling when you're in the bleachers, and even as a coach, than it is when you're an athlete. When you're on that court, like, you hear the fans, you hear the excitement, you feel the team connection, you feel everything. Even though it may seem like we're just playing the game, we feel the atmosphere that comes into that gym. I've been through the process of getting something remodeled. As in, when I was a freshman, we had the locker rooms that they had now. It wasn't those locker rooms when I was a freshman. So going into my sophomore year, those locker rooms were remodeled to the ones that we have now. And even at that little remodel was exciting. Getting a new locker room, getting new lockers, getting a new athletic training room, just the different atmosphere was exciting at the time.
And you can imagine that total transformation with a new gym, what it would be like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It would. And the one gym that caught my eye, my wife's from West Texas, and we went to what's that place called? She's from Pecos, and it's the rivals. I can't think of them right now. Fort Stockton. That's Fort Stockton. And they actually kind of have something similar to what, we'd possibly get. As far as, I think they have like glass around the court or something like that. And I remember the first time I walked in to see my sister-in-law play, I said, man, Cotulla would definitely be awesome, or, need this. They need something upgraded like this. And seeing that, and now that was like close to 10 years ago, seeing that opportunity, at our doorstep on this upcoming deal, it's definitely something that I'm prideful for. And like you said, or, all three of us here are alumni. So to see something like that, make its way to our community, our kids, we all know how deserving it is. And what we endured, we don't wish that upon them. but they definitely do deserve the best. If I could, I'd put a, giant dome or something for those football players. But unfortunately, we can't do that. But that's definitely, the point that we're trying to make. So that's all I got for you, ladies. I really appreciate you again for joining me on this podcast episode, for taking the time, to sit down and speak as alumni turned coach. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate you. Thank you to all our guests for sharing their passion, experience, and vision for Cotulla's future. As a reminder, Election Day is Saturday, May 3rd, and early voting runs from April 22nd to 25th and April 28th and 29th at the LaSalle County Election Office. Here's some important facts. Homeowners will only contribute about 0.098% toward the bond. That's less than 1%. The majority of local homestead accounts will pay $0 in school taxes due to exemptions. For those who do contribute, the impact is minimal, just 98 cents per month on a $100,000 home. Senior citizens 65 and up will see no increase in their school taxes at all. This bond is about more than just a building. It's about giving Cotulla's kids a home that they can be proud of, a place to grow, and a legacy that lasts. I'm Meme Sanchez, and this is Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games, where the past meets the present and the game becomes a legacy. And as a disclaimer, Cotulla Sports Association is an independent organization and is not affiliated with the Cotulla ISD. All comments, communications, and advertisements are solely made on behalf of Cotulla Sports Association and do not reflect the views or positions of Cotulla ISD. Thank you all and good night.